When it comes to building a portfolio in the stock markets, one of the most popular dividend-paying ETFs is SCHD. Now, one of the biggest issues that newer investors have when it comes to dividend investing in general is that investors think it takes a large amount of money in order to see the true power of dividend investing and, of course, to see the power of compounding take place. But what if I showed you that with just $20 per day, any ordinary investor could turn a small amount of money invested into a monumental, generational cash flowing machine? Now, in this video, we're going to go over some important aspects of investing into SCHD and what most dividend investors seem to miss when it comes to investing into SCHD early on. We're going to go through all this and more right after you please drop a like in this video and subscribe for more awesome dividend content like this. So let's first back up a bit and go through some of the basics. The SCHD ETF is also known as the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF. This is one of the most popular exchange-traded funds in the market. This fund aims to provide investors with exposure to high-quality U.S. dividend-paying stocks. The fund is managed by Charles Schwab Investment Management Group and seeks to track the performance of the Dow Jones U.S. Dividend 100 Index. The Dow Jones U.S. Dividend 100 Index is comprised of 100 U.S. companies that have a history of consistently paying dividends, a track record of strong financial performance, and also, maybe most importantly, these companies, at least historically, have an extremely fast dividend growth rate. As an ETF, SCHD trades on stock exchanges like any other individual stock and can be bought and sold throughout the trading day. The fund charges a small management fee, which is currently relatively low compared to other actively managed funds. Simply put, the SCHD ETF is a popular choice for many investors that are looking for exposure to a high-quality U.S. dividend-paying stocks with relatively low management fees and a heavily diversified portfolio with stocks that have a history of paying and growing their dividends quickly. Let's go through some basic SCHD fundamentals. SCHD is up 169.7% as far as share price, as far as all time goes. The fund was created just before 2012. The 52-week range on SCHD is $65.96 and $79.49. Which in my humble opinion means that SCHD is still in a range where it could be a good buying opportunity. SCHD's expense ratio, which is the fee the fund charges, is just 0.06%. The dividend for SCHD is paid quarterly, and the dividend yield as far as the trailing 12 months goes is 3.77%, which gives dividend growth investors a very high starting dividend yield, especially because the fund has been beat up in share price over the last few months. The annual payout for SCHD is $2.64 trailing 12 months, which is significantly higher than the last few years, which brings me to my next point. And this is the portion that I was talking about earlier when I said most new investors that buy or think about buying into SCHD don't understand. Let's talk a little bit about SCHD's dividend growth rate. What might be the most compelling reason to buy into something like SCHD, in my opinion, is for sure the dividend growth rate. If you look way back in time, all the way back in December 19th of 2011, SCHD was paying a quarterly dividend rate of around 12 cents per share per quarter. Just a quarter after that, 13 cents. Just a quarter after that, 20 cents per share per quarter. And as we scroll up, just a few years in, SCHD more than doubled their dividend per share per quarter. So it did not take very long at all for this fund to boost up the dividend and give investors a much-deserved pay raise. Multiple years later, when we got to 2018, SCHD's dividend per share per quarter, 40 cents, 36 cents, 40 cents, 35 cents, in the 30 to 40 cent range. A year after that, SCHD was paying out between 35 and almost 50 cents per share per quarter. If we fast forward all the way up until the current era, SCHD is now paying anywhere from 50 cents, 60 cents, all the way up to 70 plus cents per share per quarter. Now, this is an aspect of investing that I didn't even understand very early on. Even if you invest into a fund like SCHD, which has a starting dividend yield of around 3.77%, at least that's a trailing 12-month dividend yield, it might seem like it's maybe on the lower end of things, especially for dividend investors out there that are searching for high yet safe dividend yields. But with a dividend growth rate, a trailing 12-month dividend growth rate of 16.63% for SCHD, investors are almost certain that whatever dividends are paid today are only going to go up and up and up in the future. At least that's what history can tell us, because the dividend growth rate over the last 10 years was 11.72%, Dividend growth rate over the last 5 years, 15.56%. The last 3 years, 13.33%. So no matter how you look at things on multiple different time frames, the annual dividend payout per year is moving up and to the right quickly. Like I said at the start of this video, what about for newer investors that don't have all that much money to invest in something like SCHD? Is it still worth it? And how much dividends can they foresee in the future? Well, if we go over here to the dividend calculator and type in everything that SCHD has to offer, we go to a quarterly distribution frequency, which is what SCHD has to offer. We have drip turned on, which means that all the dividends would be reinvested in theory. We have a $10,000 starting principal and $20 per day, or $7,300 per year in annual contribution to buy more SCHD. We have a 3.77% initial dividend yield and a 15.56% annual dividend amount increase. Now, of course, this number can change and it probably will change. It could go up, it could go down, but this was the 5 years, so let's go off of that. And of course, we have 30 years invested. Let's see what we get. So for year number 1, the $10,000 invested would give around $380 in annual dividends with a yield of around 3.77% and a yield on cost of 3.82%. Year number 2, with the dividends reinvested and of course the $20 per day also invested, the principal would now be $17,925 with around $770 in annual dividends paid. Year number 3, with just $20 per day invested, this SCHD dividend investor would already have over $100 of dividends coming in per month on average, with $1,276 in annual dividends. By year number 5, this investor would have $45,000 with over $2,700 in annual dividends. It would only take around 10 years, with just $20 a day invested, to reach over $117,000 in principal and over $12,900 in annual dividends paid. Now 15 years in, just with $20 a day invested, I reiterate, $287,000 with over $58,000 a year in dividends. By 20 years in, almost to $1 million of principal with over $362,000 in annual dividends paid. And if we keep following this all the way down, as you can see, the compounding effect really takes place. Because at this point, so many dividends are being reinvested to buy more shares of SCHD, which is in turn going to pay more in dividends, which is going to buy you more shares of SCHD, and the power of compounding is in full effect. So there we have it. There's the proof that just $20 a day invested into something like SCHD over the long term can make any ordinary investor filthy, filthy rich. But I want to hear from you guys down below. Do you also think that SCHD is one of the best investment vehicles for long-term wealth generation? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to please drop a like in the video and subscribe for more. Thanks as always, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.